Welcome back, Kings. Today we'll be continuing our recaps of the Eminence and Shadow, following Sid, our protagonist, continue to pretend he's a weak character despite being overpowered. Let's get into it. The Cult of Diablos, according to Alpha, is a big organization that operates on a global basis, and in order to combat it, they had to divide. Sid believes that's just a polite way of them letting him know that they're old enough to seek their independence and are done with the game of fighting the cult. At the Midar Kingdom's royal capital, Sid enrolls in the same school as his sister when he turns 15. 7 months into his time at the academy, Sid is still a supporting figure who makes friends with Skeletal and Potato, two fellow bottom-of-the-pile nobles. Skell and P remind Sid on the way to school that his punishment for taking the worst possible test grade is to confess to the most popular girl in school and experience her rejection. When they get to the school, they see Princess Alexia Midar, the questioned female, rejecting the confession of another guy. Sid is intrigued by the idea of experiencing such a confession as a supporting character, though. He feels he did a terrific job as a background character confession until he goes to confess to Alexia later that night, shivering and muttering. To his astonishment, she agrees, saying she had been looking for someone just like him. People start to wonder who Sid is and what is so fantastic about him as the whispers catch on. Sid, Skell, and P ponder why she consented and surmise that even Skell and P would stand a chance if she did. After that, Alexia joins them for lunch, surprising the other pupils because it's in the lower noble area. She says she can't eat it all after receiving a lot of food. After that, Sid eagerly began to consume her meals in an effort to get her to dump him. He is studying Royal Bushin fencing, and Alexia wants to train with him. Although Alexia says she put in a good word for him and got him into Section 1, Sid claims he is in the lowest parts. Later, Sid joins Section 1 team, whose coach is official royal fencing instructor Xenon Griffey. When Sid and Alexia are practicing, Sid notes that Alexia's attacks never connect, that she moves slowly, and that she doesn't utilize a lot of magic. Sid then learns that this is because they are reviewing their strokes and counter-strokes. She has good technique, but he thinks it's boring. After the practice, Alexia remarks that he has a fantastic fencing style but despises it since it makes her feel like she is staring at herself. Xenon responds to Alexia by saying that even if it is still a well-kept secret, the fact that she is now Sid's girlfriend won't change. Sid then understands what is happening. Then, Sid asks Alexia why she chose a low-class aristocrat, someone she could easily manage, rather than choosing someone who could help her break her engagement to Xenon. Sid says he doesn't want additional attention and isn't interested in becoming involved in her difficulties, as she affirms. Alexia tells him that's a little cold of him because she is aware that he pretended to confess to her and that his pals were able to tell her everything. She warns him that he won't experience a calm day at the academy if the other students find out that she played with a little girl's emotions. The boyfriend act is something Alexia wants to keep up until Xenon gives up. Since it is obvious that he is superior to Alexia, Sid says he might not give up. Alexia is aware of it, but she needs to buy some time before dealing with it. A gold coin is pulled out and thrown by Alexia. Sid asks her whether he seems like the kind who can be brought as he continues to stare at it. Sid concurs, as does Alexia. He jumps and grabs the coin with his mouth while acting like a dog as she throws another coin. Sid realizes that his parents' budget is insufficient to support his Eminence in Shadow Ops, and he must not let this opportunity pass him by. Sid decides to stay as her boyfriend and is relieved that the students are more interested in her relationship than they are in him, allowing him to play the role of the boyfriend in the background. Alexia behaves responsibly in public but repeatedly disparages Xenon in private. Sid makes the decision to not debate her and to simply concur with everything she says. Alexia responds that it's simple to act polite when Sid asks what's so horrible about Xenon. She also evaluates people based on their shortcomings. For a human, Xenon's lack of any is abnormal. Alexia informs Sid that he just knows the fundamentals of fencing when they are on the train, but she can't keep her eyes off of him. Her fencing was especially violent and sloppy, so he wonders what the matter is with her today. Alexia admits that she has always aspired to be as competent as her sister. She made the decision to grow stronger on her own because she lacked what her sister had. Alexia was given the moniker, the fencing ordinaire, in the end. It's sad that Sid's fencing is unremarkable like hers, but Sid claims he likes her fencing, therefore he doesn't think it tragic. After Alexia's terrible defeat at the Bushin festival, her sister reportedly said the same thing to her. However, her sister was unable to comprehend how pitiful Alexia was feeling. Sid adds that although he isn't a good person and wouldn't care if someone killed 1,000,000 people, he values certain things beyond all else, which is why he admires her fencing technique. Inquiring as to what he means by saying, Alexia pulls her blade. Sid claims he gets angry when people criticize the things he enjoys. When the train stops, Alexia gets off and bids Sid farewell, leading him to believe that their uncomfortable connection is over. Skell and Per regret telling Sid all they did about Alexia, but they are curious about how far he got with her after just dating her for 2 weeks. They find it annoying that Sid claims he didn't succeed since they believe he would have gone the full distance. Xenon and 2 other men stop Sid and his buddies at the school gate. According to Xenon, Sid should be aware that Alexia didn't come back to her hostel last night and that they are looking into the possibility of a kidnapping. Sid is their top suspect because he was last seen with her. Sid gives up after spotting additional knights and realizing his predicament. Alexia awakens in a cell while bound. In the cell next to her, she notices a humanoid monster. Then a guy appears, eager to receive royal blood. She questions why the man says the blood is demon blood and that he will bring the demon back to life. Sid is being beaten while being questioned about where the princess is. He becomes enthused since he thinks that this is a typical minor character interrogation, decides to act decently so that they don't outshine him, and begins screaming and sobbing that he doesn't know anything. In a meeting with Iris, Xenon confesses his guilt over Alexia's abduction. Iris questions whether Sid could have actually abducted her. There is evidence, according to Xenon, but he shouldn't have been able to kidnap Alexia given his degree of expertise, and Xenon trusts him. Iris chooses to release him because it has been 5 days, but she demands that they maintain tabs on him. After being let go, Sid returns home. Additionally, Alpha appears and reveals that the group is expanding and that they have been learning more about the cult. Sid reflects to himself that the females still play his game and occasionally visit him, even though he is confident they are leading normal lives. Alexia was abducted by the cult because of her blood, according to Alpha, and they are looking into it. She asks him if he wants her to get rid of the people who questioned him, but Sid responds that they were simply carrying out their duties. Alpha also informs him that Delta is present and that she has been missing him before she departs. Beta arrives a short while later, telling her that the moment has come. They intend to attack every sect hideout at once, according to Beta. She begins to describe the girls' positions when Sid interrupts her, hands her a letter, and announces that he will be filling Delta's position. When Sid leaves, the 2 knights who questioned him wait for him and throw Alexia's boot at him in an effort to kill and frame him. After killing the 2 knights, Sid disposes of the remains of the 2 men that were pursuing him. Next, the Shadow Garden launches its assault. As they approach, the doctor informs Alexia and rushes to the scene. Xenon reveals that this is his institution and that he was paying the doctor as Alexia searches for an exit. Xenon says that he will be assured of a spot in the Knights of the Rounds, the highest-ranked knights in the order, thanks to her blood and his studies. Xenon easily disarms Alexia when she assaults him because he is no match for her. Then Sid appears and introduces Shadow. As Shadow introduces himself, Xenon recognizes him as the one pursuing the cult, but remarking that he has been targeting mainly bases without the cult's core members shows that he is a coward. He now has to contend with Xenon, a key player, and the incoming 12th seat of rounds. He walks behind Xenon and stands between him and Alexia as Xenon punches Shadow, making fun of Xenon and asking him where the core member, he said, is. The beast had made it to the surface. The knight confronts the monster after evacuating the residence, but their attacks are worthless because the monster only recovers. The monster receives a more significant wound when Iris arrives, but it is also healed. She decides to take matters more seriously, and she chops the monster's arm, but it quickly grows back. When Iris notices this, she makes the decision to chop it into small pieces so that it can't regenerate. After numerous wounds have been inflicted, Alpha appears and claims that she is only making her suffer. According to Alpha, she will put a stop to the suffering of the monsters because she is aware of it. Then Alpha attacks the monster, healing it, and transforming it back into a young girl, which was her original human form. She is identified as being Milia, Greece's daughter, by Alpha after spotting a pendant on her. Then, Alpha informs Iris that they are Shadow Garden and that she should just watch the show while they handle this matter. Xenon chooses to take things more seriously and employs more magical power, but Shadow still has an easy time defeating him. When Alexia watches the fight, she is astounded by Shadow and realizes that, at his foundation, his swordplay is unremarkable. They were faking a relationship, but Xenon has since passed away. Alexia asks Sid if he wants to continue the relationship, but Sid declines. The location they mentioned became well known since a lot of blood was discovered there, but no bodies or reports of missing persons were made. As a result, the case eventually came to be known as the Bodiless Murder, one of the school's 7 mysteries. The Shadow Garden females are ecstatic about Shadow's might and how, like Xenon, all of their foes would eventually evaporate from his light. They do, however, have one problem. Someone has been dispensing justice while posing as being from Shadow Garden. Iris is now aware of the Shadow Garden and cult. She doesn't trust the Knight's Order because she is aware that Xenon was a cult adherent. Sherry Barnett runs upon Sid, who is covered in blood from Alexia's attack, while Sid is reading and carrying books. Skell and Pa want to know how things went with Alexia and whether Sid received a kiss or not. Sid, though, informs them that they split up and did nothing. Disappointed, Skell explains that he knows a store where they can get all kinds of excellent things, including chocolate, which they can use to impress girls. Due to his curiosity about what this world refers to as chocolate, and due to Skell and Poe's overexcitement, Sid accepts. Iris presents a cult item they discovered, but since they are unable to interpret it, she asks Sherry Barnett, the most intelligent person in the kingdom, if she can. Sherry gets encouragement from her Lutheran father to do it. Iris chooses to appoint the Crimson Order to keep an eye on them after Sherry accepts. Lutheran learns that Iris established a new Knight Order, which Iris verifies. It's a modest order, but it was created by people she trusts. Iris agrees to help Alexia's request. Sid, Skell, and Pa visit the store, but they must wait 80 minutes in line since it is so long. Finally, Sid is brought to a throne room in a home atop the storehouse. Sid accepts Gamma's invitation to take a seat on the throne and immediately feels regal. Due to the happenings and the murderer who claims to be from Shadow Garden, Gamma makes the Sid game guess. Sid surmises that Alexia lost control and began murdering people. As soon as he hears something, he pauses and motions for his buddies to leave before they witness him peeing himself. Skell and Pa declare that they won't forget him and won't ever mention it to anybody else since they think that is really manly. When Sid enters the back alley where he had heard Alexia fighting, he is shocked to see her engaged in a struggle with some men who are allegedly from Shadow Garden. They succeed in hurting her, but Sid, posing as Shadow Garden, intervenes and kills one of the attackers before warning the other attackers that they will also pay for impersonating Shadow Garden. As Shadow pursues the men, he murders one of them. A man tells a knight that he lost communication with the puppet and the other 2 men in another scene. Iris is informed by Alexia that the murderer was posing as Shadow Garden. Alexia adds that Shadow is battling the cult, and Iris expresses her hope that when the artifact is decoded, they will learn more. Then, Alexia asks her if the Shadow Garden or the cult are the real threat. On the train to school the following day, rumors started to circulate that Sid had peed his trousers. Pa declares that he won't follow Skell's example and that he is fully informed about the female to whom he will be presenting chocolate. In order to end his background character moment, Sid chooses to give his chocolate to the first girl he meets. Sherry remembers Sid from before. She wonders what the chocolate is in her chamber. When Sherry says a boy gave it to her, her father assumes it was a gift and surmises that it must have been love at first sight. Sherry recalls what her father had said about the concept of love at first sight. New approaches Sid in school while posing as a pupil. Sid is sidetracked and wondering how Skell came to sign him up for a fencing competition, while New describes the situation to him. In the royal capital, Rex, the game of betrayal, they confirm the presence of a named first child. According to New, Rose Oriana, the president of the student council, will take on Sid next. He makes the decision to demonstrate the 48 techniques he has mastered. As their altercation begins, Sid allows himself to be hit and coughs up fake blood to demonstrate his background character method. Spinning drill fall, bloody tornado, an ugly loss against an undisputed champion in the opening round. He keeps coughing up fake blood, but he wants to go on since he has 47 more tricks to demonstrate. Despite Sid's objections and want to continue, who still has 33 skills to demonstrate, he is restrained. Sid hopes he will still have the opportunity to demonstrate his remaining skills after the fight. Sherry then approaches him and tells him she witnessed his battle and thought he was amazing because he kept getting up. Her father joins them after she informs him that they are going to become friends. Sherry considers Sid and muses on whether she ought to go see him since they are friends. Alexia assumes that Sherry will be there to discuss the artifact when she decides to go and speak with her, but Sherry insists otherwise. Sherry, who is uneasy, claims to have heard that Alexia is seeing Sid and wonders if this is real. According to Alexia, they broke up even though they weren't really dating one another and were only acting like a couple for a few reasons. After hearing it, Sherry declares that she recently made friends with Sid. The election to fill the student council vacancy is then explained by Oriana. Alexia arrives back at the school to find the gate closed and the guard dead. Then other men enter the room and announce that they are from Shadow Garden and that they are taking control of the academy. That's all for this one, Kings. As always, be sure to subscribe if you enjoyed, so that you don't miss out on all the great recaps. I'll see you very soon.